Welcome to a walk of profound importance as we prepare to walk here on Emancipation Day 2023. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. As always, I'm pleased that you have joined us. Now, it is arguably one of the more important days on the calendar in the British West Indies. It holds immense historical and cultural significance for the Barbadian people as it celebrates the abolition of slavery and marks the end of a sad chapter in the life of this nation, and it serves as a powerful reminder of the struggles endured by our ancestors and the triumph of freedom and human rights. Barbados will mark this occasion in grand style. Rodney Grant, the program advisor in the Office of Reparation and Economic Enfranchisement, places this year's celebration in perspective.
The Emancipation Walk is important because it is our signal event within the season of emancipation. Remembering that the season of the emancipation is the season in which crop over and everything else falls. So it's not the crop over season as people think it is. We celebrate the season of emancipation, which starts on April the 14th and finishes on August the 27th. And within there, one of the signature events to celebrate the season of emancipation is August 1st. Why is August 1st important? Because that is the day that our ancestors were celebrating their freedom. This is the day on which they were able to leave the plantations and form the first free village at Rock Hall. This is the same day that set the context for everything else that we celebrate in Barbados. You know, and when I reflect on things like our modern day heroes, Earl Barrow, what he did for education, Frank Walker and what he did for labor. None of this can happen unless our ancestors fought. So none of what Barrow did would have been relevant, Frank Walker, or any other heroes that we celebrate. So that the season of the emancipation is the context for which everything else that we celebrate in this country was built out. Is why we could afford and celebrate free education, is why we celebrate and can afford free health care, is why we celebrate Samuel Jackman Prescott as the first free man in Parliament of Barbados, is why we celebrate St. Thomas as the first free village at Rock Hall, and why all these things happen. So that's why this particular day is important for us. It is the day that set a new motion in place for Barbados as a free, developed country. And in fact, independence in 1966 could not happen if 1838 did not happen. Barrow would have been able in a position then to be fighting for independence for the country. In fact, his fight would have been a different fight altogether.
Quite similarly, it also laid the foundation for us to become a parliamentary republic in 2021. Ambassador to CARICOM David Comachong reflects on the history of this celebration.
As you may know, Emancipation Day, 1st of August, the day on which slavery was abolished in the British Empire, is celebrated as a national holiday in many English-speaking former colonies. And we in Barbados, we made it a public holiday in 1997. Prior to that, there are civil society organizations that used to commemorate the day. I was part of that movement. But in 1997, the government stepped in and made it an official national holiday. And having made it an official holiday, the Barbadian governmental authorities came up with a unique way of celebrating that holiday. And the unique idea was that we would center the celebration on the Bussa statue, and that we would have this Emancipation March to the Bussa statue, but that it would come from the four cardinal points. It would come from the north, the south, the east, and the west. So all of those highways that converge on the Bussa roundabout, we would have these four marches converging on the Bussa statue. And that proved in the early days to be a very effective and moving way of celebrating Emancipation Day. So typically the marchers would assemble at the 4 different points from about 6 a.m. in the morning, and we would have that early morning march to the statue and then a ceremony at the statue. The one that most sticks out in my memory is the 1998 march, when we had Fidel Castro as our special guest, and I had the honor of sharing that platform just under, in the shade of the Bussa statue with that great leader. So it went on for several years, but then it dwindled. It dwindled, and I think it dwindled because at some point the government seemed to have reduced its involvement. The state reduced its involvement in that celebration, and of course the state, brings very important resources to make something into a mass event.
Okay, so this year we are trying to go back to what when our first Prime Minister would have started some years back, and we want to see August the 1st as a whole of nation. This is about Barbados. This is not about any specific fringe group. This is not about Pan-Africanism. This is not about Rastafarian groups. This is about every single Barbadian. As I said, 1838 belongs to all of us, belongs to every single Barbadian.
But I'm so pleased now to see that the Division of Culture has really, taken up the mission fully once again, and a very big effort is being made this year to bring that early morning march back to what it was in 1998, 1999, and those early years. So it is my understanding that this year we are going to have a celebration on the scale of those early years, and that we are going to have many, many segments of the society involved, especially our young people, our students, the landship movement, the whole works.
And therefore, this year we want to go back to where we bring contingents from the 4 cardinal points surrounding Bussa. So we're going to have a contingent coming from the Parkinson's Memorial School, led by the Pioneers Creative Workshop, coming down that hill. We're going to have a contingent coming from the LESC, led by the Israel Lovell. We're going to have a contingent coming from the Division of Culture's Yard in Sky Mall, led by Dance in Africa, that's coming from the east. And we're going to have a contingent coming from the area of the Light and Power, have a grass area in the north, and that's going to be led by Haynesville Youth Club coming from that direction. Now we expect they're all going to converge by the statue. And
yes, so I'm really looking forward to it, and I would encourage all Barbadians to come out and support that march. What we used to do, or what we have been doing, you would walk with your flowers. You would pick some flowers, and you would bring your tribute of flowers to lay at the foot of the Bussa statue, and it is really a very spiritual experience to be there on that sacred day when our ancestors first tasted freedom for the first time, to be there in the shadow of the Bussa statue, just to pay respect to our ancestors, to have a spirit of deference, for that sacred struggle, and just to commemorate. It's really a very beautiful and moving experience, and I would encourage all Barbadians to come out and be part of it.
Now then, once they're there, we're going to have a contingent of cadets, Girl Guides, and the Youth Corps coming from the LESC, direction of the LESC. They're going to have the military contingent come up. They're going to come to the Bussa statue, and once then they're there, we're going to have a reef-laying ceremony by the minister, Prime Minister. She's there, responsible for culture. also by the ambassador, David Cumming Shong, and also the Cuban ambassador, who will also be there with us as well. And then one other led by the Special Envoy for Reparations. This is the Honorable Trevor Prescott. Then once that is over, we will go into the national anthem and then into the formal celebration on stage, which then we will have a number of performances by a number of local artists. Now, the day is going to be reflective of the overall theme for the season of the Emancipation, which is reimagining the past and celebrating the future. So we're going to split the day's proceedings into two: reimagining the past, where we're going to see a number of the traditional cultural groups in Barbados, Haynesville Youth Club, the Pinans, Israel Lovell. We're going to have presentation as well from Dr. Anthony Gabby Carter. Also, Gabby is going to be joined by a choir from the St. Leonard's Boys School. We'll also have the Milton Lynch Primary as well, doing a special display and stick licking that they've been doing with the Division of Youth Affairs. And then once we move from there, we're going to have as well a number of speeches in that first half. Minister of Culture, Ambassador Cumming Shong, and also Special Envoy. Then we're going to move into celebrating the future, where we're going to look at futuristic messages surrounding emancipation. Where do we want to go from here? What is the new legacy that we want to emerge coming out of celebrating, reimagining the past? Reimagine the past. Now, where do we want to take it from there? And therefore, we're going to have some dramatic presentations, special presentation being pulled together by Winston Farrell. Then we're going to have a monologue by Neil Wave as well. Then we're going to have a special performance of Bob Marley's Redemption Song by Tavon Boyce. We're going to have a special commission dance piece by Olivia Hall for the season of Emancipation, special commission piece. We're also going to have some spoken word pieces as well, Stone with Cupid, Tio as well, doing some special pieces for looking at the future of emancipation, how we see it in a very contemporary context. Then we're going to have a special presentation by a combined choir. So we're going to have the St. Leonard's Boys Choir, and they're going to be joined by approximately, I think, 27 other children from about 9 different schools, joining them to do a special presentation for that day. Now, they're going to be doing 2 pieces, but one of the pieces is Smokey Burke's special piece of Coming Down the Highway. You know, he would have done that. That probably would have been his one of the last pieces he would have done before he passed. But it's a significant piece, you know, Coming Down the Highway. Is this what, you know, we must have fought for? And we thought that that was a significant piece. So the choir is going to be depicting that in their own way. And then we're going to finish the day by a special piece called A Feeling Africa. Now, this is a piece that was done by Senator John King when he was a Calypsonian, but I think he would have sang it about once. I don't think Barbados would have heard it a lot. But when I listened to the song, I found it was, you know, it was very reflective in terms of what we are trying to promote for the day. So that piece is going to close the day, and he also is going to be backed by the special choir, combined choir of St. Leonard's Boys, as well as the other 27 children from the other 9 schools as well. So we expect to have a, you know, exciting morning filled with ceremony as well as celebration. It's a morning of ceremony and celebration. So yeah, that's what's going to be happening on August the 1st. And we are inviting all Barbadians to come out to be a part of it. As we said, this is a day for us. This is a day that we should celebrate. This is a day that is significant across other parts of the region, you know. In Trinidad, there's a national holiday. There are music trucks all along the streets of Trinidad, you know. I remember a few years back, I participated in the season of Emancipation in Trinidad, and we had, you know, some very interesting activities happening. I remember we did something down in San Fernando, and at midnight we went out into the streets with flambeaux, you know, and they rang the bells, the churches rang the bells, and that was really exciting. And this is where we have to come to as a country. You know, we have to recognize that all of Barbados, you know, this day means everything to every Barbadian person. Therefore, this is why we should come out, be part of it, pay homage to our ancestors on which this nation was built, you know.
Emancipation Day presents an opportunity for education and the raising of awareness about the implications of slavery. This is all done through cultural performances, music, and art, all important aspects of the Barbadian heritage. By celebrating this day, the nation preserves its unique customs and artistic expressions.
We feel that, it's really important for our young people to really understand the message of why emancipation is important and understand the need to get involved. And therefore, this is why this year we're focusing on a large number of youth, because we want them to be part of the messaging. And why? Because going forward, it is really on them to really continue this whole concept of celebrating emancipation and building out a national consciousness. And therefore we have a mass number of young people being involved. So we are targeting the schools. We are also providing transportation for the schools. We know that it is still going to be the summer vacation, but we're providing transport for the schools who want to participate. So we're targeting roughly over 300 or so school children from various schools across Barbados to participate. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to be sending transportation to bring them to the site and take them back. We're also having a large land-shaped maypole presentation happening around the statue. And these young people are part of the NCS Intangible Cultural Heritage Program. So that's going to be happening sometime in the morning as well. So you have over 60, 80 young people involved in this one presentation that's going to be happening one time. So we're having two large maypoles and a launcher happening simultaneously. So we felt it was important to do a lot of this, to bring the youth, to have them involved, to have them craft the contemporary message for emancipation and what emancipation means to them in this time. So as part of that, we are building out a special program in the schools called the Schools Awareness, where we have already began to build out some elements of what August the 1st will look like within the schools. And we hope to come out of this a special message from one youth, or maybe two or three. We haven't decided how we're going to do it as yet. But coming out of that Schools Awareness program, we're going to have a special emancipation message coming from the young people that they're crafting themselves. Also, we hope to have as part of the backdrop a special mass presentation that the children are building out as well. They're involved in a special rebuilding of African mass, which we hope to be part of the display for the day as well. So we spent a lot of time because why? We felt that this year that we needed to focus significantly on the educational aspect of emancipation. A lot of what you're asking me now, why? Why should we celebrate emancipation? What is it all about? What does it mean to every Barbadian? What should it mean to every Barbadian child, man, and woman? So this year we want to go back to the table. In fact, we went back to the table and we scaled back the number of activities we had compared to last year, 2022. And we kind of focus more on the activities that allow us to build up more of an educational component, because we felt that for people to participate, there needed to be some sense of identity with this process. Identity precedes participation. If you can't identify with something, then it's far more difficult to participate. And therefore, we went back to the table, and therefore that is why we're focusing on a lot of the youth for this year. We want them to have a sense of understanding that this is their legacy. This is their legacy, plain and straight. And one of the enduring legacies we want to emerge with all of this is our resilience as a people.
Emancipation Day instills a sense of national pride among Barbadians as we come together to celebrate its shared history, its values and aspirations. But should there be an ideal way of marking this important occasion?
Well, I can't say that there should be an ideal way. But what I should say is that, we should find some way. I can't think that, there should be an ideal way, but what I would say is that it should be celebratory, because we are celebrating. We are celebrating a moment in history that is highly important to us as a people. So it should at least have some sense of celebration, and celebration for the things that we fought for as a people over time. Look, when I think back of Granville Williams came here from Trinidad in 1950s, 60s, something like that. And he fought hard for spirituality and religion that reflected black people. So this is something that we should, as a people, celebrate, and celebrate within the context of freedom, within the context of emancipation. Because don't forget, he would have done this emerging out of 1966 when we have just broke away from Britain. So it's not too long ago, you know, people feel that, you know, our breakaway from Britain in terms of independence is 1,000 years ago. It's not too long ago, it's 50-something years ago. And therefore, a lot of the remnants of colonialism and that colonial caste would have still been over the country. And therefore, for a man to come back and to be saying, okay, we should celebrate Christianity with a more Afrocentric approach was not easy. And therefore, again, it took guts. Again, it took resilience. And it took a level of confidence for him to do that. And therefore, these are things that we should celebrate as a people. Celebrate our ability to stand up for the things that we believe in. Stand up for the legacies that define us as a people. You know, and at the end of the day, I was saying to a young lady this morning, I saw her in African wear, and I said to her, you know, put a black woman in a European dress and she looks good. Put the same black woman in an African dress and she looks royal. That's significant. Do the same thing, put a black woman with a European hairstyle, take the same black woman, and put an African hairstyle on us, and she's royal. Put the two together, an African dress and an African hairstyle, she's absolutely royal. You understand the point? So, this is confidence that we must have to feel good about who we are. And therefore, we don't have to feel that we have to be a mirror image of somebody else, that we are not. And this is one of the things about the confidence of our people. Young people have to understand. Therefore, some of the other cultural norms that drive our young people that sometimes cause disruptive social things like the violence and the things that we are grappling with. Something all this is embedded in the lack of a sense of identity and belonging and consciousness. And therefore, culture is one of those things that should drive a country and drive a nation. Look, when Castro, after the revolution, was trying to build out a society in Cuba, and people who know a little bit about Cuban history, he never moved without his Minister of Culture. And therefore, if he was going to economic conference, his Minister of Culture was there. If he was going to educational conference, his minister. And why? Ask yourself why. Because the culture, the identity of a people is above every single thing else. Now you'd imagine a country that don't know itself. Therefore, it's heading for economic chaos, social chaos, because those things are rooted in the foundation of our understanding, our ability to build up the nation, to build up the country. And therefore, moving forward as a nation, we have to pay significant attention to building up a consciousness of our people. Because you can't build out a consciousness, you can't have nation building without a sense of nationhood. Culture helps you to get there. Culture helps you to get to a sense of nationhood, where you have a whole of a country moving together with one voice, one understanding. And then it's so much easier to have social engineering and economic development because you have everybody moving together. You have everybody understanding why we have to build a highway from the seaport to the airport. You have people understanding then why we have to build out a national stadium to develop our athletes, because that sense of nationhood, of us moving together as a country, building out the things that are important to us are there. It's grounded in the consciousness of the people. Now that can only happen if you allow culture to play its part, and play its part in a positive way. So we must be able to use culture to strike that balance. Because the other impeding things are not going to go away, you know. The other cultures, because we're in its age of internet and social media, therefore the other things that impede our consciousness as a people are not going to go away. But we have to be able to strike a balance, and we have to be able to fight back. And we have to be able to lay the foundation on which our people are able to build up the consciousness for themselves. And it resonates from the family through the community into the institutions like school and church, into the whole of society. It's very, 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 very simple. But we got to understand how social engineering happens It has to start at our family basis. Get families to understand the importance of grounding themselves in something, grounding their children in something, and then that builds out into the society. We have a stronger community because we have a stronger family. We have a stronger society because we have a stronger community. We have a stronger nation because we have a stronger society.
Emancipation Day 2023. It holds profound importance for the Barbadian people. We will assemble here, we will celebrate, we will reflect and consider the triumph of freedom over oppression, and more importantly, the ongoing commitment to social justice and human rights. I will be here for that walk of profound importance on Emancipation Day. I look forward to seeing you here also. I'm Sherwood McCaskey.